Friends, today's story is about a brilliant thief who was never caught. But is it really possible for a thief to never get caught? Can someone be so clever that no one can catch them? What if that thief gets caught in a dangerous situation or is betrayed by someone close to them? We'll explore all of this in today's story. So without further delay, let's dive into today's tale. Hollywood Diamond Screen presents Cash Out. The story begins with Mason, the protagonist of our tale. Mason is a professional thief who has pulled off several big heists in the past. Today, Mason is at a party with his girlfriend, Amelia, enjoying themselves. The party is hosted by a man named Mr. Perez, who is showcasing luxury cars and private jets for sale. Among the attendees are many of the city's elite. During the party, Amelia tells Mason that she wants to go to his private island with him and spend the rest of her life there. As they are talking, Mr. Perez approaches them. Mason thanks him for the invitation and asks about his car collection. Mr. Perez seems a bit uneasy because his collection is a secret, but since Mason already knows about it, he has no choice but to show it to him. When Mason and Amelia see the collection, they are stunned. It includes some of the most expensive cars in the world, which are not for sale. Mr. Perez explains that many wealthy individuals have offered huge sums to buy these cars, but since they are the only ones of their kind, he has refused to sell them. Mason, unable to buy the cars, asks Mr. Perez for a test drive of one of them. Mr. Perez agrees, thinking a short drive won't hurt. Mason and Amelia get into the most expensive car, worth over $20 million. Suddenly, the lights go out, and the hotel staff, who are actually Mason's accomplices, help him steal the car. This was all part of Mason's plan. After executing the plan flawlessly, Mason tells Amelia that all their dreams have come true, and they can now settle down on his private island. However, just as they are about to leave, Mason notices a helicopter and several cars approaching them. Before he can analyze the situation, Amelia points a gun at him and tells him to surrender. It turns out that Amelia is actually a police officer who has been undercover for 2 years, pretending to be in love with Mason to catch him. Heartbroken by the betrayal, Mason refuses to surrender. He tells Amelia that he has principles and would rather die than give up. He then instructs his friends to execute Plan B. Amelia, who has genuinely fallen in love with Mason, can't bring herself to shoot him. To escape the police, Mason and his crew drive their cars into a river and manage to escape. Amelia, on the other hand, rejoins the police and they part ways. 3 months later, we see Mason living alone on the private island, where he had planned to live with Amelia. His brother Sean visits him and proposes a new heist. Mason refuses, as he has given up on his life of crime after Amelia's betrayal. However, Sean insists, saying he has planned everything and just needs Mason's help. The next morning, Mason receives a call from Link, Sean's hacker. Link tells Mason that Sean has planned a heist, but hasn't shared the details with Mason. Worried that Sean might not execute the plan properly, Link urges Mason to go to Sean. Meanwhile, Sean meets with a bank manager whose bank he plans to rob. Sean demands the manager's finger, as fingerprint access is required for the vault. The manager, terrified, complies. Mason arrives and stops Sean, reminding him that they don't operate this way. Sean reveals that his team is already inside the bank, waiting for his signal. Mason decides to take control and enters the bank to gather his team. Inside, he finds many of his old accomplices. Mason instructs them to leave quietly while he talks to Link, who had called him earlier. He tells Link that robbing a bank isn't the right way to do things. Suddenly, Sean enters the bank with the bank manager. The manager tries to escape, but Mason and Sean catch him. Meanwhile, the bank's security guard tries to attack Sean, but Mason intervenes and saves him. The team activates, and an emergency alarm is triggered, alerting the police. Realizing they are trapped, Mason seals all exits and gathers everyone in one place. Link takes control of the security cameras to avoid detection. Mason and Sean take the bank manager to the vaults. Sean reveals that they are after a crypto device in locker number 1140, which is worth an unimaginable amount. However, the manager informs them that the locker requires 2 keys, and he only has 1. Frustrated, Mason orders Link to hack the locker. Meanwhile, the police surround the bank. Link successfully hacks the locker, but to their surprise, it's empty. Sean realizes he has been tricked. Mason demands to know who gave Sean the information about the locker. Link investigates and discovers that the locker belongs to a wealthy woman named Isabel. Suddenly, Amelia, Mason's ex-girlfriend, calls Link, posing as a police representative, and demands to speak with Mason. Mason and Amelia talk after a long time. Mason tells her he missed her, but Amelia is focused on the situation at hand. She warns Mason that he and his team won't be able to escape. Mason, however, remains confident and tells Amelia that he has 23 hostages and could harm them at any time. He demands food for the hostages, and Amelia complies. After the call, Link asks Mason if he found anything useful in the locker. Sean checks the contents and finds a photo with a number, which he gives to Link. Meanwhile, Amelia arrives with the food. Mason becomes emotional and tells her that he only wanted to see her. He admits that he has left his life of crime and was caught in this situation by accident. He asks Amelia if she would still join him on his private island. Amelia signals him to stay quiet and tells him that in exchange for the hostages, he must release 2 people. Mason agrees and lets 2 hostages go. The bank manager, seeing an opportunity, grabs Sean's gun and tries to escape. Mason and Sean chase him through the bank and eventually catch him. The manager warns them that the locker belongs to a dangerous man named Sarar, and if he finds out they tried to access it, no one will survive. Mason becomes anxious, as they are now deeply trapped. Mason realizes that the locker doesn't contain money, but rather sensitive information that powerful people want to keep hidden. Meanwhile, Veron, Sarar's lawyer, meets with Amelia and demands that she resolve the situation quickly, or the case will be taken out of her hands by evening. The bank manager reveals that Sarar's treasure is actually a hard drive hidden in another building, and provides its location. Since they can't leave the bank, Mason and his team plan to break through the basement walls to reach the other building. Meanwhile, Mason continues to release hostages, 2 at a time. He calls Amelia and tells her that his team will surrender, but she must ensure their safety. He also tells her to wait for him on his private island. Sean and the bank manager finally reach the room where Sarar's hard drive is hidden. Sarar orders Link to copy the data from the hard drive. By this time, all the hostages have been released. Mason calls Amelia and informs her that his team is surrendering, but she must protect them. He assures her that he will meet her on the island. Mason instructs his team to surrender, promising them that he will save them. One by one, Anton, Hector, and Sean surrender. The police enter the bank and search for Mason. They eventually find him and Link in a secret room. Mason is holding a bomb, threatening to detonate it unless he gets to meet Veron. Suddenly, the bomb explodes, and everyone assumes Mason is dead. A few days later, Amelia is informed by her superiors that Mason's body was not found in the explosion, and the government has released his 3 accomplices. Confused by these events, Amelia resigns from her job and heads to the island where Mason is waiting for her. Mason tells Amelia that he knew she would come. She asks him how he managed to escape. Mason explains that when he demanded to meet Veron, the lawyer arrived, and Mason struck a deal with him. He revealed that he had all of Sarar's illegal data, which Link had copied, and threatened to leak or destroy it unless Veron ensured their escape, and transferred $10 million to each of their accounts. Sarar, being a powerful man, agreed to the deal, allowing Mason and his team to escape. With the deal in place, the government also let them go. Now Mason and Sean live on the island, and the story ends on a happy note. So friends, I hope you enjoyed the simple yet intriguing story of Cash Out. That's all for today's video, but as always, we'll meet again with another interesting story. Until then, thank you and goodbye.